Hey, it's Rick. Welcome to the channel, and today we're going to be creating this vintage classic car t-shirt design. I airbrushed this onto a piece of masonite with a gesso coating onto it. Had a little bit of trouble at one point on the wheel. You can see some of the paint didn't want to stick and it kept peeling off. So at some point at the end you'll see I've decided rather than finish this with more frisket and risk peeling more paint, I just went ahead and photoshopped the last bit of the design. I drew the whole design out on the board with pencil first, then I covered it with a sheet of clear frisket. Frisket is just like vinyl, the same kind of thing that you'd cut to make signs, except that it's clear. Sticky on one side, you peel off the backing, you lay it down, you cut out your whole design, you pull out the pieces that you want to spray, gives you a nice hard edge, then you replace those, and then you pull out the adjoining pieces so you can maintain hard edges. I'm using acrylic paints for this. I'm using an Iwata HPB airbrush, but I've got some others towards the end. I think I started to mix 3 or 4 different colors and 3 or 4 different airbrushes so I could just use them like markers. You'll see me using a variety of masking utensils here. This is a French curve, this yellow thing. They come in a set of 3 usually. It's oftentimes easier to just use something handheld that you've got laying around rather than having to cut a new piece of frisket. I apologize for the banding you're seeing in this video. Unfortunately, I forgot to set my camera to the right settings to prevent that flicker. It's from the LED lights interfering with the frame rate of the camera. And by the time I figured out what had happened, I had already recorded about 9 hours of video and was not about to go back and do it all over again. This video has been greatly edited and sped up on top of that. Originally, it's about 9 hours to paint this from beginning to end, and that's not doing a particularly, tight job. I wanted this to look very 70s, and if you look at old 70s airbrush stuff, I've got lots of books full of things. They're pretty loose compared to the stuff they did in the 80s and the 90s. Now this blue thing I'm using here is called Flexible Curve. You can buy this at an art store, drafting supply store. Essentially it's rubber coated on the inside. It's got something in it that makes it hold its shape when you bend it, and then you can use it to draw lines around. In my case, I use it as a masking tool for airbrushing. Sometimes I'll just use random pieces of tracing paper or regular paper, whatever I can cut. If I need just a long, gentle curve and I don't want to peel the frisket I've already got down and replace it with new stuff, it's easier just to use something else. This whole painting was essentially done with 3 or 4 colors, mostly black, and then orange, and then blue. For the headlights, I opted for using a paintbrush rather than doing this with airbrush. There's a lot of little details and designs and stuff. I didn't want to have to cut all the masking for that. The difficult part in doing any of this is not really the mask part, it's the parts you have to paint freehand with a paintbrush. The long, thin lines around the trim work and the door lines and the hood line, all that stuff is done with what's called a rigging brush. It's a very skinny, very long paintbrush that they originally used to use to paint the rigging on tall ship paintings, like pirate ship kind of stuff. This wheel is going to give me problems. I don't realize it at this point, but later on when I apply Frisket over top to protect it, and then I pull it back off again, it actually pulls the paint up with it. Now, I don't know why that happened. I don't know what's wrong with that particular area of the board. Maybe there was some contamination on there. Maybe I should have cleaned it. But yeah, the paint doesn't stick. And eventually, I decided to just stop at doing the car and not risk peeling any more paint off with Frisket and finish the rest of the design in Photoshop. If you ever want to see what really amazing airbrush car illustration looks like, go onto Google and type in David Kimble, Kimble. He did a lot of like technical cutaway stuff of cars, and this was all done in the era before computers, so it was entirely hand-drawn, entirely airbrush. He would spend months on one illustration. This stuff is amazing. Here I'm adding a blue reflective highlight down the side of the car, something to contrast the orange and yellow tint on the rest of it. Up until this point, I've been doing everything I can to work around the logo on the hood of the car. I know it's going to be the most labor-intensive part. It's a lot of masking, it's a lot of cutting, and a lot of putting it back, and I've been really avoiding doing it. At this point, I'm coming into the home stretch. The only real detail work I need to do left is with the paintbrush. The only things really left to do are just detail work. I'm using the rigger brush here to put in all the line work, highlights on the hood, highlights around the door. I'm also going to paint the logo on the hood, which some people affectionately refer to as the fire chicken. Alright, time to paint the hood emblem. So I'm doing all this with the rigging brush. There's some other details inside of the white lines that you can see. There's actually a double layer line. There's nothing like doing this to find out how bad your hand shakes. Now hopefully you've liked this video. At the very least, I hope you've learned something from this video. If you'd like to get one of these shirts, I've got the link down in the description. It's on my Teespring store. Please remember to like and subscribe. And check out some of my other videos. So based on the trouble I had with the paint sticking to the wheel, I decided to wrap this design up in Photoshop. At this point though, there really wasn't too much to do, so it was pretty easy. I photographed the airbrush part outside, and then in Photoshop I combined it with the other design elements. Thanks for watching!